Hello to everyone. We will kick off the live streaming session. Our topic is how can we live a happy life without being cruel, with an international vision and from the perspective of education and public welfare. We will help you to explore the journey of life and consider how to balance yourselves and parent-child education. We will help you to gain insights into global hot topics and sustainable life, where the voice with Pei. Hello to all our audience. I'm Su Peifen. The topic today is how can we live a happy life without being cruel. The live streaming session is a part of the 2-week events of the Planet Forward to promote a plant-based lifestyle. The event is committed to raising the awareness towards sustainable consumption across Asia. It has actively responded to the United Nations Global Sustainable Development Goals. The session is a second one of the Planet Forward webinar series. I'm very glad to be joined by two guest speakers for today's discussion. In recent years, the society and the economy of Asia have been developing rapidly, but that led to the increase of animal-based diet. Asia contributed 60% of the global pollution. Therefore, since 2022, ACTAsia has joined hands with other organizations in Asia to organize the Planet Forward event to promote the plant-based lifestyle. We have achieved remarkable results and have created a far-reaching impact. In 2023, the Planet Forward received 14.5 million views on social media, encouraging 1,600 people to take action. The event has been endorsed by the United Nations Action for SDGs. Last year, Singapore, the Philippines, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam, and India have also joined our effort. Before introducing the guest speakers, first please allow me to show you a video about the Planet Forward 2024. The topic of today's discussion is how can we live a happy life without being cruel. We know that every choice that we make in our life carries our responsibility to the world. Choosing a harm-free lifestyle will impact not only our own health and our safety, but also the other creatures on the earth and the entire environment. I'm very glad that through today's session, we will share with our audience the definition and impact of harm-free and encourage all of them to practice that concept. I hope after that event, you can adopt a harm-free and sustainable lifestyle. To that end, we have invited some guest speakers for today's discussion. They have taken time from their busy schedule. The first guest speaker is Ms. Lin Chunyan. She is a head of sustainability and the senior director, Strategic Operations Center from Oatly. She has been working in the company for 5 years. The company's purpose is to create more nutritious, healthy, open, transparent, and sustainable products. We look forward to join hands with companies to build a sustainable lifestyle. Today, we have also invited Ms. Zhang Ping from Organic Earth for the discussion. She is a founder of the company and is also the Senior Strategic Advisor of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Organic Earth was founded in 2000 by Canadian Darren Moore and Zhang Ping. The company sells natural, organic, and environmentally friendly skincare products. The company has taken an active part in the promoting of sustainable lifestyles. Today, we are very glad to have the two speakers. Chloe, could you please give a brief introduction about yourself? Hello, everyone. My name is Ning Chunyan. My colleagues call me Chloe. I joined early when the brand came to China. Over the past years, I took different positions, but sustainability is always a part of my work because it is one of the values of the company. Oatly is not a traditional food brand. It is committed to bringing new vitality through innovation. Its mission is to solve problems such as resources shortage, malnutrition, overconsumption of resources, and other problems related to sustainability. 13 years ago, the company analyzed the environment, resources, and the dietary structure. It found that the world population has been growing. Maybe by 2015, the land resources and food on the planet could not support the growing population. Animal products consume a large amount of land resources, but the proteins and energy they offer are far less than those of plant products. That made us realize traditional food production methods have put a lot of burden on the environment, but they have failed to fully meet the basic needs of human beings. So we started to think whether we can create a new food system to use less land resources but produce more and better proteins and nutrients to meet the demands of the larger population. We have noticed that the overconsumption of proteins and saturated fats will cause health problems such as obesity and diabetes. We hope to develop delicious and healthy food to provide urban population with a better dietary structure. We have made different efforts, but not all of them were successful. The most successful product of our company is the oat milk. We are using plant proteins to replace animal proteins. We have been working in China for years. You might know the oat milk, coffee, or any other tea with plant proteins. They create much less carbon emissions compared with conventional milk coffee. We feel grateful to our partners, for example, Starbucks, for helping us to educate consumers. On the Earth Day 2020, we launched an oat milk latte, joining hands with our clients. We issued a carbon reduction statement to show how oat milk latte contributed to emission reduction. That was an education for carbon emission reduction and might have reached hundreds of millions of people. We hope that we can make low carbon products more accessible for consumers' choices. This year, we have made a new progress. We have tried to build up our supply chain in Asia for years. Our factory in Ma'anshan has become the only international plant milk company that keeps the entire supply chain totally in Asia. After 1,200 days of effort, we finished the full life cycle carbon footprint evaluation of our first product. The carbon dioxide equivalent was only 0.6 kilograms, far below the industry average. Our factory used 100% renewable energy. The cost is higher. We are glad to pay the price for emission reduction. That is a great opportunity to share our new progress. In April, we finished the calculation of the carbon emission of our first product. We compared other Chinese milk products with our oat milk in terms of the full life cycle carbon footprints. We found that our product has much less carbon emission with a 68% difference. That's the good news that we want to share with the audience. Our factory has quantified its performance in environmental protection. We hope in the future we can use carbon labeling to help consumers make informed decisions consistent with their values. Chloe, thank you very much for your brief introduction. You have touched on a lot of important questions. For example, sustainable food supply chain, carbon emission reduction, carbon footprint, and climate impact. You have talked about how can we address environmental issues in the production process. Later, we will talk about animals as well. ACTAsia has been promoting the sustainability of human beings and animals. If we want to achieve the real sustainability, we need to achieve the sustainable development of both human beings and animals. Chloe, thank you once again. Before we jump into the questions, I would like to invite Ms. Zhang Ping to introduce herself a little bit. Could you please introduce yourself so that we can have a better understanding of what you are going to talk about later? Hello everyone. Can you hear me very clearly? In fact, it was my husband and I who started the business together. What we are doing is quite interesting. We did not start with the business plan, but we have devoted our past 24 years into that business. We started with a very simple reason. My husband has a kind of a special skin. He is extremely sensitive to different kind of things. The ingredients in cosmetic products, for example, preservatives, surfactants, and thickeners, will cause redness, swelling, and sting to his skin. We could not find natural skincare products for him, so we started to make such products by ourselves. If we cannot find the skincare products natural, then we will make such products by ourselves. If we cannot find healthy vegetables, we will grow vegetables by ourselves. If we cannot find quality education for students, we will run the school by ourselves. So we have a kind of DIY spirit. Over the past 24 years, Organic Earth has been developing naturally. It's a lifestyle brand. Based on our products, you might think we belong to the skincare products industry, but we don't think we are a skincare brand. We are a lifestyle brand. We named the company as Organic Earth because we use only natural and plant-based materials. We do not use any chemicals. From the very beginning, we have realized that natural ingredients will not damage the environment. We can use natural ingredients as they are, and such ingredients will protect human's skin. As our company grows, we become more and more respectful for the nature, so we eventually decided to name our company as Organic Earth. All our ingredients come from the energetic, healthy planet, which has provided us with a good ecosystem. Only with such an ecosystem can we keep producing the products that people need in their daily life. That's just a brief introduction of our company. I think we can have more discussions later. Ms. Zhang, thank you for sharing the mission of Organic Earth. For sharing the attitudes of the founders, and for sharing the brand's story. As you just mentioned, you are promoting a kind of a healthy and sustainable lifestyle. I agree with what both of you said before. ACTAsia is a non-profit organization. We are organizing the Planet Forward 2024 events and invite both of you for the sharing. In the past 13 years, I have kept believing that we can realize our belief, but to turn our belief into reality, we need different parties to work together. We need the companies to invest in what we believe in. If companies do not take any action, consumers have to work alone. They will feel very lonely. So, in all the United Nations related conference that I took part in, I have always emphasized the importance of the UN SDG Goal 17, namely partnerships. In China, we have keep talking about the importance of circles. There are some great concepts. We need to put the concepts into practice. In the process, we need a partnership. Mr. Zhang started with a concept, Chloe. You are working in a company. You are also trying to push ahead with the realization of concepts. It's impossible for us to reach our goal if we just work alone. We need to join hands with each other. I have kept saying, as a non-profit organization, we have some good ideas. It's just like we have a good product or a good pop-up store, but the store is located in the mountain areas. No one will know the store. So I hope that through today's live streaming, we can well explain those difficult or hard to understand concepts to consumers and encourage consumers to put into practice the concepts. Now people feel very tired. They would say they are very busy. There are different kind of videos online which will distract the attention of the people. Despite all the distraction, we should focus on our goal. and we should communicate our ideas to the audience. We should make our ideas easily understandable so our consumers will take the information we want to deliver. You have talked about the missions of your companies, but from the industry perspectives, could you please share what kind of impacts your industry have created to the environment and the animals? I want to recommend a documentary. Its name is Toxic Beauty. You can find that documentary on Bilibili. It was released in 2020. It was just released. It focuses on household chemicals industry, or we can say it focuses on cosmetics such as foundation, shampoo, toilet powder, lipstick, and sunscreen cream. The synthetic substances in those products are very harmful to the human body. We have been working on our business for 24 years. We did not start it with a very clear idea. Just because my husband has sensitive skin, we hope to address his problem. In the process, we realized that synthetic substances will harm human's body. So we decided to make a change. We don't want our family members keep using such products. However, for a very long period of time, we did not have a clear idea about the impacts of the synthetic substance will have on our human beings. For example, the synthetic substance will impact the reproduction and the cells in human body. I watched the documentary in March. I was impressed to see eventually there is a film to tell the impact of synthetics. We have kept worrying about food safety. There are different kind of documentaries about food safety and about the impact of food on human's body. Toxic beauty is a milestone. It has shown us the different aspects of the truth. The documentary also talked about cancer cells. My industry is very similar to food industry. We use plant-based raw materials. For example, our factory is a class 100,000 clean workshop. Many people who visit our workshop were surprised because it was completely different from the cosmetic industry's factories. They went to our workshops, they could not find any large reaction tanks. We mix ingredients manually or with small devices. We use a lot of food-grade ingredients. From raw materials to final products, every step is crucial. Any mistakes in the process may result in failure. We say 100 deduct 1 is equal to 0. If we overheat raw materials or active ingredients will lose their efficacy. We Don't use preservatives. My husband is working in research and development. He told me that preservatives will sterilize the ingredients to make the shelf life longer, but the process may destroy the nutrients in the ingredients. The documentary I mentioned before shows an experiment on human breast cancer cells. A scientist added some preservatives into the culture medium of the cancer cells. You can guess what will happen later. The scientist added preservatives into the culture medium for breast cancer cells. I think it will destroy the cells. The results surprised me a lot. The preservatives will result in the wider growth of the cancer cells. Our skin is kind of ecosystem with bacteria that are good to our health. If we use preservatives on the skin, they will kill the good bacteria and give rise to some harmful ones. The preservatives will work like pesticides for the farmland. When the bacteria that are good to our health are killed, the harmful ones will grow. Ms. Zhang, you mentioned about the impact of chemicals or preservatives on human body. Based on your experience in past 24 years, what kind of harm do you think such chemicals will create to human beings, animals, and environments? All of us are consumers. Now the weather is very hot. Some women would like to wear makeup every day. After a lady gets up, she will use different kinds of products. For example, the facial cleanser, shampoo, body wash, and cosmetics. In total, she will use 10 to 20 different kinds of products. Those products have preservatives, surfactants, microplastics, phthalate, and other harmful permanent compounds such as PFAS. All the makeup products we use have those kinds of permanent compounds, which are hardly biodegradable. When we are using products for self-cleaning every day, the compounds in the products will be absorbed by our skin. Some of them will be discharged into soil with water and eventually return back to our body. They can harm our body, soil, and the animals or creature in soil because they will use the discharged wastewater. So we can see they have a wide impact. Ms. Zhang, thank you for sharing. Chloe, how about you? What we are discussing is biodiversity. That topic has attracted more and more attention in different industries in recent years. Food issues have been discussed especially widely. Oatly has a very simple business model. We have a photo to show the model, but I don't take it with me today. Dairy cattle produce milk for calves, but now we take the milk for human beings. But in fact, there is a phenomenon of lactose intolerance. The foundation of Oatly was related to the world's first scientist who discovered the phenomena. He found that we human beings don't have the enzyme that can decompose lactose in our stomach. But at the very beginning, we have that kind of enzyme when we drink breast milk after birth, but the number of enzymes will start to decrease between the age of 9 and 12. The percentage of Chinese people with lactose intolerance is higher than that in European countries or in the United States. We deprive animals of their resources, but we cannot make a full use of resources. We take the lactose, but we cannot absorb the nutrients of the dairy products, which is not good for our body. Human beings create dual harm in many fields. We need to consume food in a correct way, build a scientific supply chain, and pass the concept clearly to consumers to encourage them make smart choices. Many people don't care about where their food comes from. We hope to shorten the food chain. Cattle eat plants such as oats and then produce milk for humans. That is a very long process. Why don't we eat plants for nutrition? With the support of some techniques, we can make plants into food without harming animals or taking up too many resources. At the same time, we can make the plant-based food taste good and meet people's demands. But there are no such innovative products on the market. We cannot ask people to change all their behaviors because each person has his or her own considerations. However, if we can produce food that can better meet the demands of the people, if we can produce food that tastes better and food that is more affordable, if more companies join our efforts, we can push people to make more environmentally friendly and healthier choices. Global climate change is a serious problem. The food supply chain is a large contributor to the problem, accounting for 60% of the greenhouse gas emissions, which is equal to the total emissions from the global transportation industry. We cannot ask everyone to buy new energy vehicles, but changing eating habits is a more down to earth and easier way to reduce emissions. We can choose more plant-based food. With the long-term effort, we can gradually reduce our reliance on animal plants, mitigating climate change. Many scientists are discussing whether we are moving towards a sixth mass extinction cycle. This is a controversial topic. The speed of extinction has aroused debates. Some people believe that the speed is abnormal. If that fear is a reality, the reason behind the problem is people's excessive demand for food. This demand has led to big changes to the landscape. A large amount of wildlife habitats was transformed into farmland, which is one of the biggest problems we are facing now. Of course, we cannot stop people from reclaiming land to survive, but if we don't control that behavior, more and more animals will become extinct. I think the key is to reduce the use of land, but still produce enough food for the increasing population. It is a problem not only about environmental and ethical issue, it is also an economic problem that requires the joint efforts of the governments and the companies. I think you really make a good point. You shared some examples. Chloe mentioned two very important points, namely biodiversity. I first heard about that concept as early as in 1994 when I was in the Netherlands. At that time, there was an organization in that country that started to collect and calculate related data. They started to consider how to combine sustainable development with biodiversity. Now, 13 years later, in China, more and more companies have started to discuss about biodiversity. For many people, also those work in communication and the media industry, they feel the topic is quite boring. But biodiversity is a simple concept. If there is no biodiversity, the ecological chain of the earth will become imbalanced. Yesterday, I read a piece of news in Mozambique. Scientists found a virgin rainforest. Over the last years, some scientists hope to turn the rainforest into a global protected area. They have discovered more than 100 new species there. Despite the new discovery, the species are disappearing at a faster speed. Bees and dragonflies are faced with the crisis of survival. For example, in the UK or in Australia, people there were encouraged to grow flowers and plants at home to provide an environment for those insects to reproduce. Insects are faced with the loss of biodiversity, so we can see that's really a big problem for the entire planet. A lot of people in UK love bees, but in Asia, not so many people like those insects. But the insects play a very important role in the biological chain. If there are no bees, there will be no pollination. The nature could not remain what it is now. In Europe or in the United States, people started to grow flowers and grasses not because of their interest or for their own mental health. By doing so, they also contribute to nature. Many people don't know that a pot of daisy can also help with the protection of bees and biodiversity. So even small effort counts. I'm lactose intolerant. When I was little, I thought I should drink milk, but milk is not for me. At the school, we were taught to drink milk and we should order milk. If we could order milk, that means that my family is rich. But I would get diarrhea and acid reflux when I drank milk. Chloe mentioned before, Asian people have the problem of lactose intolerance. We don't have the enzymes to decompose the lactose. We need to learn more about our own body instead of following suits. At the same time, there are some new milk alternatives. We need to consider about the affordability of the alternatives. I hope that the sustainable solutions will not be the privilege of the middle class. We should make the prices of such solutions cheaper. That means we need to improve the supply chain, and more parties should take a part in so as to make the products more affordable to the general public. There are milk alternatives, for example, oat milk, soy milk. Those products have become more and more affordable. They are no longer a privilege for any particular groups of consumers. We should make such products more available and affordable to more consumers. That's also quite important. You have talked about your industries and the trends in your industries. Chloe, you have mentioned about how the industry reduces impact on animals and the environments. In your work, how do you encourage your team members to practice sustainability? Sometimes sustainability is only the vision of the founder, but it is hard to implement the concept, or there will not be so many consulting companies in the world. My question to both of you, inside your brand, how do you encourage all the members to accept the value of sustainability and work together for the sustainable future? Chloe has mentioned before, you have tried to reduce the carbon emission of the supply chain. That's really good. What do you do inside your company among the employees? And also, Ms. Zhang, could you please also answer to that question? Chloe, please go first. I think we need rational thinking. In economics, every person should be considered as a rational being instead of a person totally driven by his or her mission. Oatly is new to the food market. We use sustainability to turn our advantage in the industrial chain into the strength of our brands. However, the sustainable practices here in China are different from those in the European American markets. The Western markets have discussed ESG since a long time ago. The ESG public education is mainly made for consumers because companies have well understood the concept. China is still at the early stage when it comes to ESG. Therefore, when we come to China, we were a little worried, but later we found a new business model. We adopt a typical 2B and 2C model. 70 to 80% of our products are sold to international brands. For example, Starbucks, McDonald's, KFC, and Walmart. We found those brands have set their own sustainable development goals and policies. As a sustainable supplier, we find it's easier to reach cooperation with them. They have set their goals. For example, Starbucks aims to reduce the carbon emissions, water use, and waste respectively by 50% by 2013 based on the standards of 2008. And it has decided to increase the percentage of plant-based food in its menu. The other brands have also set similar goals. Since 10 years ago, we have started to calculate the full life cycle carbon footprint of each product and have collected a large number of data so we can provide data to our clients. As a tier 3 supplier, we can help the brands reduce their carbon footprint. That was how we worked at the very beginning. Through those brands, we make low carbon products available to consumers. Those products taste good. At the same time, they carry added value. Social media in China is very developed. Consumers have the needs for self-actualization as the Maslow hierarchy of needs show. People have the basic needs and the needs for socialization and self-actualization. The young people in China also want to actualize themselves, and some of them even want to become global citizens. So coffee and tea products, we make a connection with more conscious consumers and make them into a community to further improve our influence. We are increasing our consumer base. The new development will motivate our employees to focus on what they are doing because their jobs are meaningful and will bring real benefits. The development will provide them with positive feedback. Of course, we also have a KPIs. If there are KPIs, there must be punishment, but we have tried to avoid disincentives and maintain the team's enthusiasm. We also have incentives. That's our way of management. Some people might think sustainable development is an abstract or empty concept. They feel the founder or chairman of a company just uses the concept to achieve his political goals. Oatly has integrated sustainable development into every step of its supply chain from raw materials, distribution, processing, canning, to sales, and even to the use and recycling of packaging materials. When we were making the changes, we found what important is whether our team can work professionally and with a good pace. You must have a clear idea of the changes both in and outside of the industry, identify the main contradictions in the industry, and find out how the company can help to resolve the problems. Only in that way can you bring actual results. Once one company sets its major goal, it should focus on it. The company should make the plan at the beginning of the year and break down the bigger goal into smaller tasks for different functional departments. You only need to tell your employees that our packaging materials must meet the FSC standard, the palm oil must reach the 24P standard, they must recycle a certain percentage of packaging materials. You must make the goal easily understandable. You can communicate clearly all the goals to the different departments. You need to make plans at the beginning of the year, monitor the performance throughout the year, and evaluate the results at the end of the year. Changing goals randomly or given tasks that are impossible to achieve will dampen the team's motivation for and confidence in sustainable development. What you have said touched on a wide range of topics. You talked about the carbon footprint of products, the downstream and upstream of the industry chain. You mentioned an interesting phenomena at the very beginning, only aimed to meet the upstream demands. You just perform your responsibilities as a supplier. Now you're trying to make connection with consumers. That's really good. I hope that our audience will understand that consumers care not only about concepts, they also want tasty products. Jumping, then could you also share your idea based on my question? While listening to what Chloe mentioned, I feel very inspired. There is a lot of things I can learn from here. Organic Earth is different from Outline. We are a small company. As the founders of the company, we can just implement our ideas easily. We don't have a very complicated organizational structure. We are working in a very simple way. I feel the Earth has become what it is now mostly because of humans' desires. The Earth can satisfy our basic needs, but it cannot satisfy our unlimited desires. In the process, business interests and the interests based regulations and laws are hard to change. They result in behavior harmful to the environment and to the planet. When you take a completely different approach, no matter in what field you are working, for example, food, skincare, and packaging materials, you should first be an education company. You need to be passionate about your belief, lead by example, and walk the talk. Your employees will watch you and learn from what you do. You should not change randomly. You should keep your belief for 20 or even 30 years. Such a behavior will motivate your employees. Our company has been located in Beijing. At the very beginning, to stay away from industrial parks, we located the company in a village outside Beijing, for there is less pollution. Many of our employees are women from the village. From the very beginning, my husband and I have tried to lead by example, whether it is for procurement or production. We have tried to be as environmental friendly as possible. For example, we don't use disposable shoe covers. We transformed all the trousers into shoe covers and wash them when they get dirty. We have keep classifying garbage for 24 years. Sometimes there was something very funny in the process. I wondered whether there would be another general manager like me who has always keep an eye on whether the employees classify their garbage or not. Now 80% of our employees have been working here for 15 to 20 years. Those old ladies from the suburb of Beijing are using glass meal box instead of plastic ones. What surprised me recently, I found over the past 24 years of running a business, the new employees usually have no awareness of classifying garbage and just discard their garbage inside the garbage bin. However, after 2019, I realized that all our employees know well how to classify garbage. Our employees are working in the factory every day, experiencing our products and concepts. We insist on not adding preservatives so the product's shelf life is not very long. Once the products expire, we will sell the products to employees at a lower price or donate the products. The employees are very happy to get those products because they know the products are made with quality materials and would like to use the products. We even influence the other old ladies in the village. For example, an old lady once come to our company and ask for our products for her newborn grandson. So from that, we could see our influence on the people around us. I think every company with new concepts should do education as well. They should act like an education company. So for all our new employees, we will encourage them to watch documentaries. For example, Food Inc., An Inconvenient Truth, and Home Planet. Then they would understand our philosophy better and then our way of working. I have kept joining different kinds of non-profit salons. My goal is to give 2,000 lectures. I have only finished one third of the goal. I will keep working on it because I believe only by doing so for the long term can I make more people understand our ideas. That's wonderful sharing. You mentioned that sustainable lifestyles and consumptions are not empty concepts. We could practice such concepts in our daily life. Those concepts are not the ideas believed only by the founders of our companies. Oatly is a big and a strong company. Organic Earth is a small company, but they contribute their own share of effort to sustainable developments. We need both big companies and small companies to work together to create value throughout the industrial chain. As Chloe mentioned, jumping over the past 24 years, you have kept practicing the value of the company and leading by example to influence people around you. Chloe and Jumping, you are working in companies of different sizes, but what you are doing actually is the same. I would like to thank everyone for watching and participating in this discussion. If you feel today's webinar is helpful, I hope you can share it with your friends. Every webinar is a result of the efforts of our team. Sustainable lifestyles and public welfare need the support and participation of all of you. Please click likes and follow our accounts. Please click like from this live streaming session and follow our WeChat official account, channel, and the Weibo account of ACTAsia. You can add the WeChat accounts, ACTAsia, ACTASIA, and pose questions to today's guest speakers, and later we will continue with the discussion. But before that, I would like to share a 1-minute video. I want to start our following discussion with this video. Large-scale enterprises and factory-based intensive farming models will impact animal welfare. I want to compare plant-based milk and cattle's milk. I would like to ask overly, how do you reduce animal exploitation and improve animal welfare through your own efforts? In fact, I have mentioned about that before. We are trying to replace animal proteins with plant-based proteins. We also want the plant-based proteins taste as good as animal proteins. The other industries, for example, meat and egg, have not found any alternative approach, but in the milk industry, we have already found our way of working. If I show you the data for the full life cycle assessment of our products, you will find that we reduced the water consumption by 78%. The full life cycle assessment takes into account not only the carbon emissions created by our products, we have also made improvements in some other aspects. For example, land use, an impact on ocean acidification, as well as water. Compared with animal milk, plant-based milk is much better. We hope to reduce the use of land resources and protect the habitats of wild animals, giving them more living space. I don't have any exact data now to prove what we have done, but in the future, I think we can provide related data. There are some good practices in the international community. We need to protect the animals. We need to provide milk to the consumers. That means the use of land resources, which will result in deforestation and the loss of biodiversity. You mentioned about bees before. At that time, actually, I would like to say we use environmentally friendly packaging materials. We use SC certified paper for packaging to avoid deforestation. In the beverage industry, the use of FSC-certified paper has become a trend. Their behavior will urge the upstream to reduce deforestation as much as possible. Of course, it is impossible to not use the forest at all because we need materials to survive, but we should follow scientific rules, make appropriate land use plans, and protect the ecological environment. We pay attention to third-party certification in the procurement of raw materials to ensure the sources are reliable and environmentally friendly. We also offer flavored plant-based oat milk, for example, almond flavor, pistachio flavor. The percentage of those ingredients in our products is quite small, but we still consider their impact on sustainable development. Almonds are not very sustainable. California is a large producing area for that kind of nuts. Growing the nuts will result in the drop of the water level in the valley and impact the life of fish. So we could not say all plant-based products are completely sustainable. We need to address all the unsustainable practices involved in each product. Now we no longer use the almonds from California anymore. Instead, we are using nuts from Australia. Also for palm oil, we also took a cautious approach. We have tried our best to protect the ecosystem and the biodiversity of the forest. We select the most sustainable raw materials and packaging materials. Then we can encourage farmers or any other people interested in sustainable development to make real changes. There's one thing very important. Consumption will result in depletion on the use of natural resources. We should use resources in a sustainable way. Companies also need to use resources to produce products. However, they have many ways to be more sustainable. For example, when it comes to the palm oil and forest, they still have some sustainable options. The industries have discussed about sustainable development a lot. Consumers should also realize the importance of sustainable products. They need to understand why they need to choose alternative milk. They need to understand the reasons. Sustainable products are good for human beings and animals. They need to understand the problems associated with livestock cultivation, which will use land resources and water resources. If they understand all the knowledge behind, they will be more motivated to make a change. Industries should also know how to calculate their impact on the environment. As Chloe mentioned before, then we can make sustainable developments more practical, easily understandable. Many companies would like to practice sustainable development, but they don't know how to reach the so-called sustainable standards. The skincare industry, food industry, and the fashion industry all have many problems in their supply chain. Those industries have set some standards in their supply chain to become more sustainable. Jumping, do you think in the global skincare industry Has it become a trend not to use animals in testing? Animal testing will impact the animals. What's the difference between using and not using animals for testing? Could you please share your ideas? That's an interesting question. In 2021, the government pushed ahead with a reform of the skincare industry and updated the cosmetics regulations for the second time. The first updating was in 1980s. After the second updating, the government requires that if you claim your skincare products have a particular effect, you must provide experimental evidence to prove it. In 2021, we cooperated with a company from Hong Kong to do a test. In the test, we used zebrafish embryos and the Nobel Prize winning technology, the fluorescent labeling technology, to test all the 45 lines of products. At that time, I didn't notice the problem of animal testing. Later, I went to study ESG at the United Nations Research Institute and gained a better understanding of animal testing. Then I realized how controversial animal testing is. We didn't use animal ingredients in our products. Our products are good for dry and sensitive skin. You might heard about some natural moisturizing ingredients, for example, horse oil and sail oil. We don't use those animal ingredients. After the study at the United Nations, I realized the problem with animal testing. Then we decided to give up our cooperation with the Hong Kong company for the testing. We changed our way of working. Based on what I know, all the products for children should go for separate tests. In those tests, rabbits will be used. People would apply the products on the skin of rabbits to see whether the products will cause any problems. I think all the skincare products for children have gone through such a test. Now, I don't know how can the organic earth deal with that problem. It's a difficult choice. Our products have no chemicals. They are good for infants, children, pregnant women, and people with sensitive skins. But according to the national requirements, we must do separate testing. I don't know how to deal with that problem. I still need to try to find a solution to the problem. 4 years ago, we realized the problem with animal testing, so we don't use zebrafish anymore. But I still don't know where we can find a new solution. I just want to confirm with you, do you mean because of the change of related regulations, organic earth products are meant for adults, so they don't need to pass animal tests, right? I know your products do not contain animal ingredients, but the products don't need to pass animal tests because they are for adults. Am I right? Maybe I didn't make it clear. We have 60 different products, only one of which is a moisturizing product for babies. For that product, we did separate testing. In the process, I realized that rabbits were used in the testing. That was a problem. I don't know how to navigate the national requirements on testing. That's the problem. The other products don't need to pass the separate testing, right? The other products don't need to. All the children's skincare products need to pass the mandatory tests. I still don't know how can we address a problem. We had a line of products for children and pregnant women. After the new regulation, we had only one product for children. The rest of the products are for all age groups. Thank you for your sharing. I have another question to both of you. You have been promoting sustainable and harm-free products for years. In your work, have you ever been influenced by your target audience or any other any stories you can share with us? Do you mean the influence from consumers or clients? It can be either consumers or clients. And the users or corporate clients, how do they influence us, right? Know how you influence them. Miss Zhang's story about leading by example has inspired me a lot. We also have a 4-year recycling program to increase the percentage of paper-based composite packaging material that is recycled. 70% of the material is aluminum and 20% is plastic. The material is not biodegradable. If discarded into nature, it will not only pollute the environment but also damage the landscape and biodiversity. We have noticed many European countries have reached a recycling rate of over 70%. The packaging material industry here has increased its sense of responsibility. If we want to make a change and protect the environment, you need to work with raw material suppliers, producers, and direct and indirect buyers to bear the cost of environmental protection together. European countries have gone through the transformation. Consumers and companies could get tax refunds. They realized that good environmental practices will bring them benefits. But China has no system for risk and cost sharing. It's impossible for companies to bear all the costs together. The government could not address all the problems. When it comes to the recycling of PET, China has done a good job and reached over 90%. But when it comes to the paper-based composite packaging material for drinks, the recycling rate is still very low here. If there's a gap, we need to bridge the gap. Last year, we issued a report to analyze the current situation of the recycling of the material in China and show the practices of major leading companies. We found that the recycling rate has improved. Years ago, the rate was 23%, but it has increased by more than 10%. For companies like Oatly and Vitasol, it is not we who directly throw the drink packages, it is consumers who do so. But we can put a recycling label on the package to guide consumers' behavior. If consumers don't change their behavior, it will just take a huge cost for companies and the government to take action. If consumers change their behavior, then the supply chain doesn't need to pay such a high cost. The packages are not biodegradable, but they can be recycled. Then, with human labor, we can separate the packages into paper, aluminum, and plastics. If we could make a little bit of progress each year, we could say we have shouldered our own responsibility. I was inspired by many responsible companies. Oatly has a mini program through which we provide recycling services in 78 cities to encourage consumers to send back the packages. We will pay for the delivery fees and do the recycling process. At the very beginning, we provided some incentives to encourage consumers to do so, but later, even if without such incentives, consumers still would like to take part in the recycling process. I believe people are willing to change for the greater good. The key is whether we can provide incentives to encourage them to take action. If we do something harmful to the environment, our own health will also be impacted. If we make environmental protection simple and easy, most people would like to change their behavior and keep doing what is right. That is what companies can do. Ping, would you like to share your stories? You have been in your industry for over 20 years. You must have many wonderful stories. Could you please just share one of the most unforgettable stories? Well, we do have influenced our employees changing their behavior and the idea of consumption. My husband and I have kept wearing the same clothes for years. I found that our employees are also doing so. No one in the company wears famous brands, really no one. What Chloe mentioned also inspired me. We had an environmental protection initiative before, but it failed. We didn't use plastic bottles for packaging. We used only glass bottles. We are doing e-commerce. It's easy for glass bottles to break in transportation, which will result in many bad comments. We didn't have any other option. We used glass bottles of different sizes. We didn't have enough money to make a customized packaging materials, so we used soft plastic wrap, which would take 200 to 400 years to decompose in nature. I changed the way we worked and encouraged the consumer to send back the plastic wrap. The wrap used for the cosmetics and skincare products is quite clean, so we encourage the consumers to send the plastic wrap back, then we would give them some cash back. The result was terrible. We sent out hundreds of thousands of packages each year, but less than 100 of them were sent back. Despite that, we promoted the program on the website and reminded consumers of this program after each purchase. It just didn't work. I realized that it is extremely difficult to change a consumer's behavior, so we start to change the raw material for the packaging. 2 years ago, we started to use cornstarch granules as a filler and use tapeless boxes. The cost of each package increased by 6 times. It was not a huge increase for big companies, but we are just a small company. Despite that, we kept using the same method. To my delight, I noticed our employees had changed their behavior. Last year, we joined a street market for organic products. I was quite busy. The sales team was also very busy, so I sent two workers from our workshop to run the store. Also, without any sales experience, they talked with the consumers passionately. I felt the efforts that I made over the past years or eventually paid off. With simple words, the workers expressed their real feelings, tell consumers that there is zero waste in our product, and even the packaging materials can be used as the fertilizer for plant pots. We are a small company with limited effort, but we would like to take action and keep doing what is right. If the old ladies in the countryside can change, I believe all of us can change ourselves. As Chloe mentioned before, each consumer hope that their consumption can bring benefits to society. If we increase our awareness, we will make good choices that will help the planet to change for the better. Then we can undo all the harm we create to the environment. I believe it is possible to change. If consumers cannot change, the world and society cannot change. I would not devote my past 13 years to what I'm doing now. The problem is whether we can accelerate change and expand the scope of change. Chloe shared a successful case. Sometimes the problem is not the message itself. Organic Earth is a small company, so its influence might be limited. Oatly is not a big company. It's, it's still a relatively small company. I read a book. It mentioned that everyone is pioneer. You are also pioneers. Oatly was a small company before. It took time for it to develop into a big company. In the past, it was hard to find Oatly's products in the supermarket, but now it is easy to find its products in the supermarket. It's a process of change. In the process, more and more people will join the efforts. It's possible to change, but I hope we can change at a faster speed. That's because the world is being destroyed at a fast speed. What we discussed here is really inspiring. I learned a lot from your sharing. I have received a question from the audience. I hope both of you can answer that question. The question is, in the food and the cosmetic industry, how do you inspire young consumers? How do you motivate them to make more sustainable choices? Do you have anything to share? Ms. Zhang, maybe you can go first. It's hard for me to answer that question. Actually, I don't think we have done anything very successful. We just keep moving forward. How do you inspire the young consumers? I don't think we need to inspire them. We just need to stand in front of them, make what we are doing known to them. I found the young people born after 2000 is a great generation. They can easily understand what you are sharing. They are not materialistic. You just tell them what you are doing for the environment and the planet. They will understand your point. For organic earth, what we are doing is just to reach out and share our ideas with more and more people. I think you are much more optimistic than I am. Yes, I think the post 2000 generation is very great. I agree with what Ms. Zhang shared before. This is an age of information explosion. Self media has become so developed. Brands should be authentic and transparent because if companies are not transparent enough, people will still find out what they are doing. Companies should not fake it. The second point, brands should not put on an air. We are promoting sustainable development not because of the national goals of carbon neutrality or carbon peak. We are not the number one in the industry. Our goal is not to be on the top of a ranking list. We want to attract the younger generation that can resonate with us. We attract them through our creativity. On our packaging, we don't use some grandiose slogan, we just tell our stories. We keep repeating the ideas that we believe in, even if it seems hard to understand. We are unconventional and even anti industrialization. That's why we look attractive to some groups of people. In European and American markets, we are even called the hippies of a peaceful time. That's because we are unconventional. We never think we are the savior. We just tell young people what the problems we have discovered and how we are going to solve them. If they like our way of working, they will follow us. We need to be honest, disclosing information truthfully. These are our principles, whether it is online or offline. We keep these principles in all our activities. We just follow our original intention. That's good. Today's sharing gives our audience a deep understanding of how to live a happy life without being cool. To be cruelty free, we need to consider human beings, the environment, and the animals. This discussion is really inspiring. The final takeaway to our audience, Chloe and Jumping have been working on sustainability for many years. You are professional. As a member of an NPO, I have emphasized what important is not the concept. Our two speakers mentioned before, we need to walk the talk. To achieve that goal, we need to be professional enough and put into practice what we say. Chloe also mentioned creativity. Oatly had a very innovative advertisement. It could do so because of its professionalism and its persistence. Other companies, no matter they are big ones or small ones, can make their contribution. Companies of different sizes can take action. Big companies and small companies have their own advantages. All of them can try to take action to make a change. Consumers, especially the young consumers, should consider how to live a sustainable life. If you have started to practice sustainable living, you can share that concept and our today's discussion to more people and encourage them to take part in Planet Forward. Small actions also matter. We should buy better instead of buying more. The problem is overconsumption, but we could not stop people from consuming goods. ACTAsia has always mentioned before, we are not anti-consumption, but we need to consider how to reduce the impact on animals, environments, and the human beings while consuming goods. I would like to thank two speakers for your wonderful sharing. We will have another webinar on next Wednesday on July 24th. Today's discussion is really inspiring. I hope we can promote the content to more people. Thank you very much for your participation and see you next time. Thank you.